Hi guys, thanks for coming to my channel. This is where we're going to be looking at audiobooks and how we can improve what we can do and what we can learn from some of the best audiobooks in the world. And I want to let you in on a little secret. If you're not a fast reader, I'm not either. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be conquering that with audiobooks. We can listen to the audiobooks. I'll show you how, and if you have any questions, let me know. So let's get into this. I look forward to going on this journey with you. Hi guys, right, so today I'm going to be doing the final part of the goals video starting from chapter 17. So I'd love to know what you think about these reviews so far, if there's anything you'd like to see, if there's anything you love, anything that you don't like so much, and we can try and incorporate that into some of the videos moving forward. So yeah, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Thank you for watching, and let's get into this. So there are 3 statements that you can say to help you remain flexible in your mindset and approach. The first one is, I made a mistake. The second one is, I was wrong. And the third thing is, I changed my mind. Now, when you say these things, it allows you to adapt and be flexible, which is invaluable, according to the goals book, in helping us to change and become who we want to be. When you say these 3 statements, it means that you can understand that you might have been wrong. You might have made a mistake. And you could have changed your mind. So if you have goals that you're trying to achieve that are no longer in line with the person you are and what you want to become, you can change these. If there are people in your life, if there are circumstances that maybe no longer serve you and no longer add value where maybe once they did, these are things that we can change. And these are points where the book makes a really good point about being flexible and understanding that things change. We can change our mind, and that's okay. Now, as most of the decisions that we're going to make will be wrong or turn out to be wrong in the fullness of time, we have to remain flexible. Now, there are 3 statements that you can say that will allow you to keep that flexibility. One is, I was wrong. The second one is, I made a mistake. And the third one is, I changed my mind. Now, with this, we can think about the zero-based thinking. And is there anything that if you knew what you know now, you wouldn't get into it? Any behavior, any relationship, any group that if you knew how it was going to turn out, you wouldn't get into it knowing what you know now? And that can be hard. So, but it's also a good point that by remaining flexible, we can be open to change and open to learning and improving who and how we choose to express ourselves. And the fact that we can change our mind is a key one here. He says, be clear about your goal, but be flexible about the way you're going to achieve it. There's an interesting study that says 95% of children tested between the ages of 3 and 5 are highly creative. However, the same children, when tested as teenagers, only 5% are highly creative. So the question is, what happens in between when they were 3 and 5 and becoming teenagers? And one of the suggestions that this book makes is that systematic programming conditions you to be less creative. It conditions you to be an okay member of the class. It programs you to subconsciously want to fit in and not stand out. And by doing that, you remove some of the creativity that you might have. So there was a study that said 95% of children between the ages of 3 and 5 were highly creative. However, the same children, when tested as teenagers, only 5% were tested and showed to be highly creative. So the real question is, what happened between the younger ages and the teenage years? Now, one explanation could be systematic programming. That we're taught not to ask for what we want, that we're taught to follow the rules, don't stand out, get in line. And this is one explanation why we lose that creativity. However, it's not all negative. The book says that this creativity is a muscle. So you might not have been creative recently, you might not be doing exactly what you'd like to do, but by doing small increments towards what you want to do, you can get there, you can improve and you can get better by training your creativity. So there's something that Brian Tracy calls mindstorming, which is where you put one of your goals to achieve X by Y, to become a certain role, to get skilled at a certain thing, and then take the goal, I want to, earn X amount of money, put it on a fresh sheet of paper and make it a question. How do I earn this amount of money, if that's one of your goals? How do I, go out with this person? How do I, have better relationships with my family? How do I stop arguing? Or whatever your goals might be. Pose it as a question to yourself. And then he says to discipline yourself to generate at least 20 answers. Now, I've been doing this for about 2 weeks. I've been doing about 10 answers, and it's really hard. It gets to the point where you don't really know what you're writing down. So I suppose I'm going to increase the amount of answers that I'm writing to these questions. He says that a well-defined problem is half solved. So once you understand what the problems are, what the barriers are, what you need to do to get and achieve what you want to achieve, you're halfway there. He asks you to write down what are the best things that could happen to you and to write down how you'd handle those situations. So imagine if your goal is to get the dream job that you always wanted. How would you handle that? What would you do? What would you change? Would you change anything? So there's a quote that says, your success in life will be in direct proportion to what you do after you've done what you're expected to do. Now, I don't really understand that. But I suppose once you do what you need to do, what do you spend the rest of your time doing? And your success in life will be in direct proportion to what you do with that extra time. This makes me think about a point that Kobe Bryant said, where he was talking about how many times can you train a day, and that by tweaking his schedule, he could get an extra training session in per day, which means compounded over a year, could be 300 sessions more than the average person. So I suppose the question is, what could you do to increase your results directly in line with what you want and who you want to be? Now, it kind of talks about this as a self-reinforcing cycle. So the quicker that you do things, the more experience you get. The more experience you get, the better you get at doing things. And then onwards and onwards in an upward cycle. And there's also a point that says, when you start keeping the promises that you're making to yourself, you will start to feel better. When you feel better, you're more likely to want to do the things that you're going to do. And it makes a lot of sense in terms of understanding the brain, understanding how you work. In Tiny Habits, the book that I'm going to review next, it talks about people change best by feeling good. Now, the way that I kind of think about this is people change best by feeling good. How can you make yourself feel good about a certain behavior? You could do a small amount of it every day. Every time that you do that, it creates a little dopamine rush. And you're more likely then to want to do it again. So anyway, we'll talk about the habits in the next episode. He says that you should persist until you succeed in everything in your life. Persist until you succeed. Then he talks about how Roosevelt said the only thing that we have to fear is fear itself. And he talks about when we say that, he means the only thing that we should be scared of is what the feelings of fear does to us. How does that impact our ability to want to do things? It's not the fear itself, it's the side effects of the fear and how that affects your ability to want to do things. What would you do or what would you be if you weren't afraid of anything in the whole world? Now, this is quite an interesting point, but he says the root cause of fear is criticism from one parent or another. So that might be true and it might not be true. It leads to a fear of failure. So you say, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. And then this then leads to a second fear, which is the fear of rejection, which means I have to do it, I have to do it, I have to do it, I can't not do it. He says, when we think like this, we become hypersensitive to the criticism of others. And these might just be fears that are completely made up in our own minds. So we're actually limiting ourselves with our doubt. He says that we need to be courageous, and to be courageous is not acting without fear, it's acting in the presence of fear and doing it anyway. Mark Twain said, it's not whether you're afraid, it's how you deal with the fear. Hi guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. This is the second to last video and there's only one more to go where I'm going to be talking about exactly what I think about the book. Let me know what you think and I can't wait to show you the next episode. Thanks guys.